bad. See if we can bounce one of these bottles off the ground here. Not bad. That was a good one.
Oh, man.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Chad and Eric again, and we're out here doing another gun review for you. We've got the Browning high power pistol, and this is just really, in my opinion, one of the greatest handguns ever made. They're just iconic, and of course this is a John Browning design. Unfortunately, John Browning passed away before he was able to see it fully finished. Of course, we know that Save, I believe is how you say his name, he finished the Browning high power, added a couple of things of his own to the design, but most of it is Browning's brainchild and Browning's creation. And then the gun entered service in 1935 as the P35. Most places around the world still know them as a P35. Of course, you'll hear people refer to them as Browning high power, or some people just call them the high power. For the time that this handgun entered service, it was actually a very revolutionary arrangement, because it was really one of the first truly high cap pistols that was actually militarily viable option for a lot of people to use. Uses a 13 round double stack magazine, which of course at the time was a very new concept. Up until the time that this pistol was produced, really the best autoloader is the 1911. Of course, you have another John Browning design, the 1911. In my opinion, one of the best military pistols ever made is the 1911. But what this gave the soldier was basically double the ammunition that you would get in the 1911. This gun holds 13 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the chamber, making for 14 shots. So that's double the ammo that you would see in a 1911. These were very popular guns with the Wehrmacht during World War II. When they ran through Belgium, they took over the arms factories in Belgium, and of course they forced the Belgian people to continue producing the high power for use by the Nazis. And the Nazi soldiers that used the high power loved them, of course, because it's a high cap pistol, and just a wonderful design. It almost has a modern arrangement to it. When you compare it to something like the Beretta M9 9mm pistol, which of course is still in service to this day, really you see where the M9 gets a lot of its heritage from, is from a gun like this. And up until the point that, you know, the original Glock 9mm hit the market, and from the point that the M9 was put into service and developed, this was known as the high-cap gun on the market and on the battlefield. I mean, this was the one. The thing about the high power that, in my opinion, gives it a lot of distinction is the fact that it's still in service to this day. There are several militaries across the world that still use this handgun as their main sidearm to this day. And that says a lot for a gun design, especially when you have a world of Glocks and polymer frame monsters and things like that. You know, a good all-steel gun made by, you know, a good gun maker with a good heritage of developing quality small arms. For me, to see something like this still be in service to this day, it really says a lot about the ingenuity of John Browning and how smart of a guy he really was. I mean, it was even rumored that he passed away in his son's workshop while working on the high power. So that really tells you a lot about the work ethic of someone like John Browning. He literally worked until the day he died. And, you know, his overall mindset was that, you know, he was a hard-working person and he loved guns. And in my opinion, you know, if John Browning were alive today to see what his high power design has done, he would really be just incredibly humbled by how many people really love this firearm. So we're going to shoot it some for you. Of course, there are a lot of variants out there. This particular gun is what's known as a Mark III. It has an ambidextrous safety. The gun, just like the original 1911, has an interceptor notch. Save did add the magazine disconnect safety, which, of course, that can be disabled. No problem there. It has a magazine disconnect safety, an interceptor notch for the hammer. This is a single action only handgun, which means that the hammer must be back and cocked and a magazine in the gun before the hammer can be dropped. There is no provision for double action. Now later, Browning did market a model that they call the BDM, and it was meant to compete with the M9 and the Glocks and other guns like that, in that it was a double single action arrangement available from Browning. But the BDM was not a very successful handgun design, and most militaries of the world today that still use some version of the high power still prefer the good old single action high power to anything else. Of course, it is a lock breech. You can see the barrel unlocks when the slide moves rearward, not unlike a 1911. And the thing you have to remember about this particular design is that by the time John Browning started work on the high power, the patents for the 1911 had already expired. He had already sold them off, and you know, he didn't really own the rights to the 1911 anymore. So when John Browning went to design the high power, I mean, yeah, he had ideas in his mind of things that he would basically use from the 1911. But the beauty of the high power is that it's a gun that came out of the clear blue, just like the 1911. The 1911 came out of the clear blue, right out of John Browning's mind. And this is the same thing. He knew he wanted to improve the 1911 somehow. He knew that modern militaries would want a small caliber, high capacity pistol for use in their armies. So he was smart enough to realize that a lock breech semi-automatic 9mm set up in a typical Browning fashion was what the world needed, and he was right. And unfortunately, he didn't live to see it finished, and it's really a shame, because he was a hard-working guy, and he really loved his country, and he was a capitalist, and he believed in making money the honest way. And if he were alive today, I think he would really be in awe at how well his little high-power gun is done. They're seen all over the world. They're very popular. Up until the time of this writing, there's been well over 1 million units made. So it's definitely a powerful gun in the modern society. The high power is one of those things that has a mystique to it. You know, when Omar Gaddafi was killed, he was carrying a highly engraved, highly customized Browning high power. Okay? Saddam Hussein also was known for being a big fan of the Browning high power. He had many gilded and customized versions of the high power. Of course, when they raided his palace, when they raided various houses of his, they found numerous high powers, highly customized. You know, when Saddam was found in the hole that they found him in. When they found him in hiding, he was armed with an empty Glock 18. But I imagine that if he had his choice, or at least if it were a matter of going out with style, I would imagine he'd have one of his highly customized high powers on him. But anyway, just the gun itself has really developed a really good reputation for being reliable, accurate, and of course a nice slim profile. I just can't say enough good things about the high power. And we're going to get to some shooting clips here, and you guys won't have to hear me talk anymore. We're going to shoot at some. These things are just great guns. This particular version is a Mark III. It's a later version, like I said, with the ambidextrous safety. Canada used these extensively during World War II. They were made by the English firm in Canada, and those particular guns, some of them were slotted. They had shoulder stocks, tangent sights, stuff like that. So some of those high powers can demand a premium just because of the collectible status, and let's face it, pistols with shoulder stocks are just cool. So sometimes you can find a slotted English. Sometimes they have fixed sights and still be slotted. Most of the times they have the slides are cut for tangent sights, and a lot of those guns are neat. And of course they did see a lot of service during World War II with Canada, and just wonderful guns, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Good shooting gun.
Good shooting, boy.
You can't go wrong with the Browning high power. They're wonderful guns. So you probably noticed that in the video here we changed our shooting area. You see that we got a different place for shooting here. The particular property that we're on belongs to a fellow named Ken Scurry, and he does a lot of videos, you know, himself and everything. Some of the stuff he posts to YouTube. A lot of this stuff he posts to TV and on TV shows and that kind of stuff. We'd really appreciate it if you guys check out his YouTube page. You'll see a link down in the description box. Also, check out his website. He's got all kind of information on hunting. He's got areas you can hunt hogs, coyotes, deer, all kind of different stuff. He does a lot of stuff for the shooting and hunting community as a whole. Donates to a lot of causes, so check him out. This beautiful piece of property we're shooting on today belongs to him and his family, so they've been kind enough to let us come out here and check the place out. And we'll be having some more videos we'll be doing on this property, some long-range stuff, a little bit of shooting on the water, and of course we'll probably build this area up a little bit along with the family as time goes on. So you'll be seeing a little bit more of this place in the videos. We appreciate y'all watching.